Hi, I'm Lars and I'm here at NDC and I've got this really quick little tip about Azure Serverless that might save you some money. Who knows? Anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. So I got a function app, and a function app, if you've ever done anything with serverless on Azure, you probably used Azure functions and they live within a function app. Now, serverless, as you may know, doesn't really mean that there's no servers, right? It just means it's someone else's server. It does mean you don't have to manage that server, you don't have to worry very many things, and you just build the thing. Like you just build the code really quickly. But it's still going to cost you something. So there's different ways of hosting your function apps. So let me just show you what they are, and there's one of the ways that you may not have thought about. So here's how I'm creating a function app. That's where your functions live, inside a function app. A function app is just another way of saying, how am I hosting my functions? That's sort of what it is. But because it's serverless, we can't talk about servers, even though that's what it is. Anyway, I can put this obviously in a resource group. I'm going to call this one NDC, which one? Melbourne. That's a good one because that's where we are. And the function app name, we can call this NDC Melbourne function because I'm very inventive. I couldn't come up with a better name. And you can choose your code running, publish it as code or in a Docker container. You're going to choose a runtime stack. I'm going to choose .NET because I've drunk so much Microsoft Kool-Aid. I love .NET. And then you have to choose your operating system, Linux or Windows, and then there's your plan type. And that's the key. So the plan is, how am I paying for this essentially? How am I hosting my function? So the way the function works usually is that you'll have your function code and it'll be requested by something called your function. And that might be once a fortnight. It might be once every 2 seconds. Who knows? But it's when it's requested. What happens is that the function needs to run somewhere. So a VM is spun up somewhere to host your code and run it and give you the computation. Now there's different ways you can do that. So the serverless way is called consumption, which is what's on the screen. And consumption means that every time that it's requested, a VM is spun up and it'll sit there for a while. And if it's not requested again, that's the function, Azure will kill the VM. And it's consumption based because you pay per execution. And it's really cheap. I think currently it's like 1 million free executions a month, something like that. But then after that, you start paying for it. Now, there's two caveats with that. One is that, well, you have to spin up a VM every single time that your function is no longer alive. And the other thing is that you don't have any control of this VM. Now that's kind of the point with serverless, but bear with me. So if you click on this dropdown, there's 3 different things. There's functions premium. Premium means that there's always at least one more VM than what you need running your function. So it's hot loaded, you could call it. Which means that there's no delay. So if you had a really important function that runs not very often, but must run immediately when it's requested, then you can use the premium function. So you pay more for that, of course. And then there's the thing that most people always ignore, app service plan. An app service plan is just a VM. It's usually where you run your website, your app service, but you can also use it to run your functions. So you can actually host your function app on the app service plan. And the cool thing is that you're already paying for the app service plan because, well, it's your app service plan. So if I click on that, you can see it changes a few things, and I have to choose my app service plan. So I don't have any currently on this subscription, but I could create a new app service plan and actually have that. But I can host everything on that. I can have my websites on it, I can have my APIs on it, and it all costs the same per month. So yes, you may have more traffic on your app service plan /VM, because that's what it is, but it might also actually save you a whole bunch of cash because you don't need to set up any other computation resources. So that's my tip. It took a bit longer than I thought it would, but it was quick. Excellent.